They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they watch you.
And for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
In a developing country like Nigeria, the role of civil society organizations, CSOs, in the development and governance processes of the country cannot be overemphasized. Such groups have left indelible marks in terms of social mobilization that have helped to create awareness on relevant issues in the health, education, and other sectors of the country. The menace corruption poses to the Nigerian society and the difficulties successive governments have faced in tackling it has made the fight against corruption a must for all, including CSOs. They have to replicate the successes they have recorded in other sectors in the anti-corruption effort. Specific activities that are necessary in the fight against corruption include promoting inclusive budgeting, transparency, and accountability in governance and budget processes, as well as holding the people's representatives accountable. This is our area of focus on today's edition. Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am Ruth Awodi. The primary functions of civil society is that they serve as a platform for citizens to express their interests, passions, preferences, and ideas. They are also platforms for exchanging information to achieve collective goals, to make demands on the state, and to hold the state officials accountable. Civil society groups comprise labor and students' unions, gender groups, human rights organizations, religious associations, and professional associations. Some of these include the Nigerian Bar Association, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Nigerian Medical Association, Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, amongst others. No group is more significant than the other, as they all can serve as foot soldiers in the anti-graft war. Today on the program, we also bring you drama, ethics and values, and many more. But first, Joy Aja is standing by with anti-corruption stories. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you, Ruth. Welcome to this segment. The House of Representatives has stated its commitment to assist ICPC with its perennial challenges of underfunding. Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Corruption, Honorable Akinloye Aziz Babajide, restated this during the 2018 budget defense by the Commission before the committee. He said that the committee knows ICPC's constraints and that it was willing to help the Commission to achieve its objectives. A member of the committee, Honorable Muhammadu Chiromawa Mukhtar, appreciated the work of ICPC, but said that more still needs to be done by the Commission. While encouraging the Commission to participate in public hearings, he said that the committee was ready to work with ICPC in amending existing laws and making new ones. Speaking further, Honorable Mukhtar said that the Commission should ensure that mechanisms are put in place to prevent assets like vehicles and other perishable items from rotting away, a situation he had observed during some of the National Assembly's oversight exercise. The acting chairman of ICPC, Honorable Bako Abdullahi, while briefing the committee, gave details of the 2017 budget performance and also presented ICPC's 2018 budget proposal, pointing out that the proposed budget was based on the ceiling by the government and that it was lower than what the Commission had proposed based on its needs. In a bid to enhance the productivity of its operatives in the campaign against corruption, ICPC recently organized a basic investigation skills development course for its staff. The 2-week course, which was held at the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria, KEFI, Nasarawa State, had in attendance officers drawn from the Commission's headquarters, zonal and state offices. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Head of Training, ICPC, Mr. Dauda Bello, said the course was designed to enhance the performance of staff of the Commission in the area of investigation of corruption, as they would learn more about national integrity laws and international protocols. According to him, the course would also cover simulation exercises as surveillance, as well as asset tracing, seizures, and forfeitures. At the end of the 2-week course, participants were subjected to a computer-based test and a few other practical exercises before they were issued certificates. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Ruth. Stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
That was a very good business.
Yeah.
The furniture you brought was very perfect.
But that's how we roll.
Let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much of it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I don't do business like that now. Yeah.
Hey, that can give me back my check. Let me go and look for someone that understand business.
Take.
Your loss.
But it is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get out.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
You will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people, make not only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no, not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
If you are just tuning in, this is Corruption Must Go. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, prescribes that the support and involvement of citizens groups like CSOs makes combating corruption more effective. This is because a one-sector approach does not bring the desired results. Dealing with corruption requires a multi-dimensional approach. Therefore, the role of the CSOs is key and should not be underestimated. We spoke to some members of civil society organizations on the issue, and here is what they had to say.
Well, generally, CSO are the bedrock of democracy, entrenching democracy, good governance, and the rule of law. And the contribution of CSOs in the fight against corruption is very key. And I see CSOs as watchdogs. And as watchdogs, one of their major role and responsibility is to be able to checkmate the democratical process if it depends transparency, accountability, and in governance. And so to me, one of the major roles of civil society, and I always say, is that civil society organizations should be people that always demand for accountability in all aspects of governance.
CSO has important role to contribute and complement the effort of government in terms of the fight against corruption. First and foremost, CSO works centered around conducting research to be able to establish the basics, the baseline for, things that need to be done in order to deal with issues of corruption. So we carry out research to help, government identify, genesis or reasons for people even being involved in corruption, or the kind of thing that need to be done by the government to address the issue of corruption in Nigeria. So CSO played that important role, in terms of carrying out research The second aspect has to do with awareness creation. CSO organize a lot of awareness, both in television, radio, at the community town hall, in different fora, to create awareness about the impact and consequences of corruption, what in most cases lead to denial of healthcare system, quality education, even affordable water and sanitation, and so many things.
Working with the ICPC has really broadened our scope of activities, and we have been able to engage government in different areas, especially when it comes to sensitization and awareness, where we have executed the States Anti-Corruption Summit in over 6 states. And the States Anti-Corruption Summit basically is to make every state to come out with an anti-corruption agenda, that this is what we are going to do from so years to another year, that setting up an agenda to see that, okay, the educational sector is corruption free and all the sectors within the state is corruption free, and especially to guide the chief executive to exercise his duties devoid of corruption. And we have been able to carry out sensitization activities in all the 36 states when it comes to the state universal basic education, when it comes to other street work against corruption. So we've been able to achieve that over the years.
Our organization has been at the forefront of ensuring that we have policy and legislative framework to fighting corruption. For example, we led the advocacy on the passage of public procurement. In Nigeria, everybody knows that before we have the public procurement law, corruption in the procurement has been one of the major source of corruption. So my organization, CISLAC, had worked with other stakeholders, including the government, to ensure that we have a law, on public procurement, and that, so far has reduced to a large extent. In the past, corruption through procurement is one of the major sources that people, engage in corruption and diverting public funds. So we engage on policy and legislative, intervention to ensure that we have the legal and policy framework that, fight corruption.
We can some that we can say them. We know how we have been able to engage some states, that at the end of the day, in some states, ghost schools were discovered. At the end of the day, issues of ghost workers. At the end of the day, payment vouchers of some ministries have been cleaned up, where you'll be able to see that the name of deaths and the name of retirees and so on and so forth were cleaned up from. And I can assure you that those activities were not done forcefully. It's as a result of our engagement and awareness activities that they say, look, we never knew that this thing is like this, that if we engage ourselves in some act of corruption, we are cheating ourselves. So willingly, I can assure you that some accountants sat down, being able to remove the names of all the debts, say, look, if we continue like this, our children will suffer. So willingly, as a result of awareness and the campaigns that have been carried out with the ICPC, a lot of sectors have come to realize that, look, prevention is better than cures.
Before now, the corruption in the oil and gas sector is such that nobody knows what happened there. But with our support, to ensuring that we support government to legislate a law, in the area of NAITI, has yielded results. Now we have, regular audit report in that sector. Before now, nobody knows what happened in the oil and gas sector. But now, with intervention of CISLAC, and many other stakeholders, we now have, a regular audit, that is happening in the oil and gas sector.
ICPC as an anti-corruption agency recognizes the importance of CSOs in the fight against corruption and has been engaging with notable ones among them. Mr. Jimo Sulaiman of Education Department tells us how ICPC has engaged with some CSOs in the fight against corruption. Take a look at this.
Since the establishment of ICPC in the year 2000, it has been engaging with civil society organizations to curb corruption. ICPC believes that civil society organizations promote ideals of good governance, anti-corruption, transparency, and accountability. And in view of this, ICPC established in 2006 the National Anti-Corruption Coalition as an umbrella body that will coordinate the engagement of ICPC with civil society organizations. While coordinating the activities of the civil society organizations, ICPC see their roles as vital in the fight against corruption. They act as participants, as trainers, as educators, as mobilizer, reorientation agents, evaluators, and whistleblowers. Aside from the fact that ICPC established this coalition, there was also a kind of a guide that ICPC put in place. This is called Code of Conduct. It is this Code of Conduct that stipulates what individual members of the coalition must do and must not do. Among what they should do is what we call public sensitization. They go all out there to sensitize the public on and against corruption. They do what we call advocacy visits to the local populace. They also engage in budget tracking. They get involved in budget processes at the local level. They also do what we call capacity development. While doing all this, ICPC also has it at the back of its mind that the CSOs in this climb must be engaged, must be trained. So that was why we usually engage in capacity development. We develop their capacity with regard to anti-corruption issues, best practices around the world. Aside from that again, we engage them in community development education. That is when we go to the local government, to the local community, where they help us, where ICPC on its own may not be able to reach. They are there on behalf of ICPC. In a nutshell, the engagement of CSOs by the ICPC is just to help galvanize public participation and foster public support in the fight against corruption. Essentially, when these CSOs are engaged, we train them, they come to us, and sometimes we fund them so that they can help ICPC and help the public in combating corruption.
Corruption not in my country.
That was a very good business.
Yeah.
The furniture you brought was very perfect.
That's how we roll.
Because then let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much was it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I just do business like that now. Yeah.
Hey, that can give me back my check. Let me go look for someone that understand business.
Take.
Your loss.
But it is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get out.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
You will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people, make not really add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no. not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
There is no single elixir when it comes to the corruption malaise. There is no omnipotent player that can eradicate corruption without the participation and contribution of others. Thus, Transparency International also emphasizes the importance of building coalition for improved governance and the control of corruption. Civil society organizations, with the full support of members of the public, can be in the forefront of initiating strong coalitions among different sectors of the society for fighting corruption and safeguarding integrity. Let us join in the fight against corruption. Visit our website www.icpc.gov.ng to make your reports, inquiries, and suggestions. You can also reach us through our toll-free numbers as shown on the screen. Thank you for watching. See you again same time next week. Bye for now.